What's cooking, Juventus fans? Welcome back to your old lady's favorite YouTube channel. Today, we've got options. It's good news, it's bad news. It all depends on your perspective, really, when it comes to the future of some players, and you're looking at Juventus, how they're going to stack up in the summer mercado. Stick with us, we'll fill you in. Ciao ragazzi, welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone. My name is Justin Sofro. Today, it's Thursday, May 5th, 2022. Am I going to do the stereotypical thing? Yeah, I'm going to do the stereotypical American thing where I say Happy Cinco de Mayo, even though I'm not Mexican, obviously. But, you know, we celebrate it here in a way that they don't even celebrate it there. I don't know why I'm digging into it, but I'm doing it because I'm just excited, looking forward to a couple margaritas at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, before we do anything, let's go ahead and smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, join the community and what we have going on here. Let's just dive into it though, because we got a lot of news to talk about, and I'm excited to get this one going. The very first news of the day, and it's gotten quiet recently, and I know a couple of people pointed it out in the chat in the comments yesterday, so we're going to talk about it today. And that is Nico Schietta is reporting about Paul Pogba and his future still. Obviously, when we're talking about when it comes to the midfield, there are multiple options that Juventus are looking at. Right now, he says 2 roads for Paul Pogba. The first lead is, of course, PSG. However, watch out for Juve, who are not giving up. Recent contacts have been made with Enzo Raiola, obviously taking over following the unfortunate passing of Mino Raiola. But Pogba knows that the current 17 million euro per season, per year is out of budget for everyone and ready to reduce his salary. So obviously, he's making buku bucks, if you will. It's insane the amount of money that he's making, and nobody else can really pay that. And to be honest, he probably isn't. I mean, not many people are worth 17 million euros per season. Though Pogba is obviously a, I guess you could say a generational talent when it comes to what he can do in the midfield, and hopefully Juventus would want to bring him back. There's a second part to this. Let's go ahead and move it on to the second part, and then we'll give my final thoughts on it. Mirko Di Natale also talked about it, saying that Pogba isn't back to being an option for Juventus, saying that not only Milinkovic-Savic recently, between yesterday and last Thursday, there have been contacts between Nedved and Enzo Raiola to talk about Pogba. On one condition, lowering the wage. PSG are the favorites, but Juve are in the race now. And this is going to be a little bit of a topic I think we're going to talk about a little bit later, but obviously, where do we weigh this out? On one hand, Milinkovic-Savic, and on the other hand, Pogba. And I understand Pogba's getting a little bit older. Savic has a little bit more time, and he's also going to be a cheaper option. Cheaper option, let's be clear. Cheaper option when it comes to yearly payment. But also, Pogba's on a free. Milinkovic-Savic is coming with a heavy price tag when it's coming from Lotito, and you know they're going to nickel and dime Juve all that they can. If they're even convinced to, sell them to Juventus. I think right now that's going to be a big debate. Which one would you pick if you have both those options on the table right now? I think right now I still have Milinkovic-Savic up there in the top, but then there are a lot of other pieces and dominoes that can fall depending on who you get. Continuing on, though, with this topic, though, is it's interesting to see how this is going to go, because the dynamic is pretty similar between Milinkovic-Savic, between Juventus, and between PSG, as well as Pogba being thrown in there. So it seems like one's going to go to one and one's going to go to the other. Hopefully this will work out positive. Well, actually, I don't care about what happens to PSG. I don't care at all about them. But hopefully it works positively for Juventus. That's all I'll say. Let's continue on track, though, and talk about the other news we have, and that's Big Z, my guys. I know you guys are hyped to talk back about Big Z. I was a little bit down in the dumps here recently with the latest news that seemed to be a little bit negative on his potential of coming to the club, but I know you guys are hyped and excited to talk about this. Tuttosport is reporting that Juventus are still looking at Zaniolo. The 50 million euro price tag is still too much, but the club is hoping that Roma would be open to including players in the deal. Obviously, we talked about Rovella. We talked about potentially even using McKennie as a bartering tool. These are options if Juventus are really serious about bringing in Zaniolo. I'm ignoring all the arguments right now because I don't need to do this every day on the channel. I know the arguments for and against Zaniolo. I get it. But this is an option that Juventus are still looking at doing, which almost surprised me. I thought it was kind of quieted down. It seemed like it was going away. But of course, it also seemed that way about Pogba. So right now, I think we're still looking at a very concrete list of Milinkovic-Savic, Pogba, throw Big Z in there, and then Jorginho, and that's probably maybe Frankie De Jong's building a little bit of traction, but works like the thumb, a little bit shorter. We don't have his is not fully there yet, but it's coming along, if you will. We'll see what happens there. Let's continue on. Now we got a little bit of update about Di Maria and his options in the Mercado, saying that Tuttosport Tuttosport is saying after the first very positive contact with Di Maria's agent, they are fascinated by the idea of including a player with these characteristics in the squad. Di Maria would be happy to continue his career in Serie A with Juventus shirt. So it seems another good solid ground there of building traction of bringing Di Maria to Juventus, and it seems very plausible given he's another player that'd be coming on a free. If you can get maybe the likes of him, Pogba, those are two free players, just depending on how much you're going to pay in those yearly sums. All right, so let's continue on with the next one, and that is that of Raspadori. His situation, Tuttosport reports, saying that Juventus and Sassuolo will open talks for Raspadori after the Coppa Italia final. Juventus don't want another Locatelli saga and are looking to close the deal soon. The free transfer of Di Maria could free up the budget to do so. So a lot of pieces here with this one. It's funny because I think there were a lot of talks that the conversation for Raspadori or the bartering or whatever have you would have happened following Sassuolo match, but now it seems like it's gonna be after the Coppa Italia. I mean, it's gonna be after something. We only have 3-4 more games left. And then the season's kaput. It's done. And then we can focus on the Mercado. This is kind of a good... I was worried about this. I didn't know if it was an either-or with Di Maria or Raspadori or how that would go, because I think I love the prospect of bringing Di Maria. But I also would worry about, hey, if we lose that on Raspadori, who I think could be a really good, a really solid future Italian striker. The Italian, and it doesn't mean everything to everybody. But if you know my story, if you know what we talked about here on the channel, I am very high on that, and I'd love to see more. Wear the black with the blue, wear the Azzurri shirt, and wear the Juventus shirt. A lot of those, Juve players are really important to the history and the legacy of this club, and the history and the legacy overall of the Azzurri, of the Italian national team. Though right now not doing so hot now that they're missing another World Cup. But I really like what I see from Raspadori. A lot of hustle, effort, and he's a good goal scorer. I think he'd be a great get for Juventus. And it looks awesome to see that a free transfer of Di Maria would actually help free up more money in the budget instead of paying for him, obviously. So that would actually work to bring both of those players in. And I think you're doing really well if you're looking from an attack standpoint of two players that can actually do something, right? Compared to, then you bring in Adam with Vlahovic, you have Di Maria who could also help create a little bit, and then once you get that midfielder, I think we're looking at a much more improved team going into next summer, or next fall, I guess, in the next season. Next up, let's talk about Morata's situation. Gazzetta dello Sport are reporting saying that Juve is to try to lower Atletico's 35 million euro demands for Morata. The club wants to pay a max of 20 million euros. However, Atletico are not open to that idea at the moment. So it's not done. We haven't lost Morata forever, though we've been talking about a little bit lately. It seemed more and more likely. I don't want to say unfortunate, but it seemed more and more possible that Morata would not be a Juventus player here in the next season, and he could be at Barcelona, he could be wherever. If Juventus can still keep him, though, that would be a solid option to bring in. We'd see how he'd end up working out. We know how he works out. He's a solid option if you can keep him. But if you're going to bring in Di Maria, if you're going to bring in Raspadori, and then you have Chiesa back, that helps. It helps clean that up a little bit more than the worry that I had of you lose Morata and Dybala, you got to add multiple attackers in there. But I feel like these substitutions would do well to help bide their time. Though, how does that fit in with Moise Kean and that whole situation as well? We'll see. All right. Next up, let's talk about this one hit me like a Mack truck, right? It hit me out of nowhere today because we've been talking hearing the same stuff, and now it looks like the tides they may be a changing. Tuttosport reporting that an agreement between Bernardeschi and Juventus is now closer. There was a meeting yesterday with the agent Federico Pastorello. Negotiations for an extension are going on. and in an atmosphere of cordiality and optimism is reported to be growing. So, now it looks like Bernardeschi may be potentially getting a renewal with Juventus. I can't do this. I mean, I can do it, but don't make me do this. I don't know what to do. Are we gonna pretend that Bernardeschi is a usable player for the next potentially 2 seasons or whatever it is? We're going to go 2 more seasons and maybe 4 more goals, maybe if we're lucky. If we're lucky at that. Actually, yeah, I think that's way overly optimistic. I think 4 goals is highly optimistic for me over here. Maybe a goal and a half. Maybe we'll say that. Maybe that looks like what we're looking at. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's just because of out of the options. They'd have to be replacing too many players. It'd be better just to keep Bernardeschi if he's one to go and actually be a cheap player like we talked about. Maybe that's what it is. But as it stands right now, I don't get it. I don't understand this move. I won't understand it. We'll see if this ends up becoming a whole lot of nothing. But as it stands right now, this is the first glistening or whatever. That's not even the word I'm trying to use. It's the first little bit, the first little appetizer of a terrible dinner that is Bernardeschi coming back to the table, if you will. All right, let's move on. Let's see if we can get anything else better going. Oh, it's Rabiot time. We're gonna talk about Rabiot. This is good news or is this bad news? Depends who you are. Gazzetta dello Sport are reporting that Rabiot could consider alternative offers in the summer, but Juve will not be able to raise the price too much. That is why the most likely solution is that of January, when Rabiot can decide his future. For me, bad news. If you're a Rabiot guy, maybe that's some good news. I know there's some people, even Alejandro made some comments that he would be okay with him staying if he gets utilized, all right? I don't know. No, I can't do this. I can't pretend like I'm okay with Rabiot staying for another season. I don't need, if you're going to bring in all these midfielders, or if you're going to have at least 2 solid midfielders coming in, and for some reason, one of that midfielder, Locatelli, Zakaria, whoever it is, gets benched, so that way we can see frickin' Rabiot out there playing. I don't need to do it. Don't even give Allegri the option. That's how I feel about this. Do not give Allegri the option. Do not make me sit through another season of this. That's all I ask. I can't do this. If he's a bench player, he's a bench player, but I don't want to see him starting. If we get the players that Juventus should be getting, and all other things are even, McKinney as well, are healthy and good to go, I don't need to see Rabiot out there. I just don't need it. I don't need it out there all the time. I don't need to see him starting. Definitely not more than 50% of the games, which I feel like he's easily probably done this season. I could be wrong. I'm just shooting that off my head. We'll see. All right. Next up, Moise Kean. We're on a roll. Why? That was the most country thing I've ever done. It said row instead of roll. Wow. All right, let's continue. Kentucky. I'm sorry, guys. It's what I have no excuse. All right. Gazzetta dello Sport. Moise Kean's obligation to buy is set at 31 million euros, a figure Juve think is too high based on his output this season. Yeah, no kidding. Juve now needs to talk with Everton to see if a change and the deal could be made. We've also talked about if they're going to end up being stuck buying him, that they can end up, obviously they want to get a cheaper price, just like with Morata. I don't know how likely Everton will be to approve that. But the only other option I could see definitely is if Juve and PSG come to the table and PSG want Moise Kean back, then maybe they can work out some kind of deal. Juve gets out of that clause. If not, it's a solid little chunk of money that's going to go toward a player that's really not bringing a lot right now. Sorry, guys. I know there's a couple Moise Kean stands, if you will, on the channel. Or in the community, if you will. All right. I'm just getting run over. I'm getting run over with this news. It's this is one of those news reports, Romeo Guidetti with it, talking about Chiellini's future. It's one of those news reports that you know it to be true, and you're okay with it, but it still kind of hits you like a Mack truck. And I think I've used that analogy twice today. But anyway, Romeo Guidetti reports basically just confirming Chiellini is set to leave Juventus at the end of the season. This one's going to hit hard. It does hit hard. Chiellini to me is one of the... He is, to me, is what you would say the quote-unquote holy trinity at Juventus. To me, that's where he is. It's Del Piero, Buffon, and then Chiellini. And those are my top 3 players of all time, at least as I've been a fan. And I think definitely, with his defense and how good he's been winning that Euro, I know that's. Here's the thing, and I remember we talked about this the other day on the channel. I understand that accomplishments with the Italian national team are not accomplishments for Juve, but at the same time they kind of are. The reason I say is because Buffon won a FIFA World Cup. If we were only going off on players that have won, to call them legends or to call them whatever you want to give them accolades, if you're only going for players that have won Champions League, that would leave very few players. That would leave like one guy, right? So I just say, yeah, Del Piero's it, right, for me, right? Is that what I'm supposed to say? Anyway, I think at this point, I balance them. This is my perspective. It's how I do it. I balance them evenly. Accomplishments with the Azzurri, accomplishments with Juve. Are they a Juve legend? That's how I do it. Might be wrong. Feel free to argue it in the comment section if you want. But again, and I understand too. This is the emotional part of me is coming out a little bit right now. Where the normal me, the analytic side of me says, yeah, I mean, it's time for him to move on. Time for him to take a seat. It's not worth it for him to go another season. Injured most of the season. He's got nothing to play for. He's not playing for another World Cup because that's another 4 years. He's not going to do it. Unfortunately, this is where we are. Unless he just really wanted to play like another Euro or something. And I think at this point, with the way Juventus is, before they'll make another, a Champions League final, it may be a little bit. We'll see. They're doing some good things when they're rebuilding, and anything can happen. But at the same time, but it's still rough. It's still rough. It's still, hard to see one of the great ones go, regardless of his current, playing structure. But good on you, Chiellini. Enjoy your retirement. Enjoy if you go to the MLS, and I'll hopefully be able to see him in the MLS. But we will say arrivederci in the summer, it looks like. All right, last bit of news for the day, and that is, guys, Alejandro, the way he set up these graphics. You started off high talking about guys coming in. We get you all excited for Big Z, and then we get down here at the end, and it's just Mack truck after Mack truck after Mack truck. And here's another one. Gazzetta dello Sport's talking about Alexandro, saying selling Alexandro, who is earning around 6.5 million euros, will be very difficult. The club is looking at Cambiaso, Palmieri, and Alonso. Basically, a lot of the news for this really is that you may have another season of Alexandro. And that's the news. That's going to be a tough pill for many of us to swallow. One more season of Alexandro. One more season of Rabiot. One more season, at least, of Bernardeschi. If all this news ends up being true, woo, fans are not going to be happy. Fans are not going to be happy at all. Those are players, to me, those are the 3 guys that, you got to go. Like, Moise, I can probably bite that bullet one more season because, it was a mistake. It was not a mistake, but it was something that happened. He performed, he won us the last game that he played. But again, it's a situation that is not beneficial for Juventus to continue having to pay Rabiot and Alexandro another, season or 2 of wages. So we'll see what happens. Otherwise, maybe we can get Emerson Palmieri in here and everybody will be very happy about it. I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do? How am I supposed to end this show? Just a wet fart. That's really what this is. The last few were just kind of wet farts for the channel. I apologize. We'll have better news later today, trust me. Or feel free to drop by. We're going to do a live later today. We'll talk about the different topics we have, and there's a couple things that I really want to bring up in here. A little bit of a debate, not a debate show, but a little bit of a debate with the guys that will be joining me as well. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. If you like the video, I'm not saying you like the news there at the end, but if you like the video, if you like the channel, what we do here, one way you can really support us is by hitting that like button every video you watch. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Join our community, what we have going on here. And make sure you hit that bell icon so you stay notified and updated for every single video as soon as it drops, so that way you don't miss a thing on the channel. Make sure you also consider joining the member squad. There's a lot of cool things that you get out of that. If you've been in your live streams, all the people with the badge next to their name, I think they're highlighted in green. they're part of that member squad. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee that you get each and every day, and you get it for that every single month. And there's a lot of cool things. You get to join the Discord, and you can even join some of our videos and our live shows that we do here. Lastly, if you haven't already, make sure you follow bianconerizone at bianconerizone on Twitter and Instagram, as well as Facebook, and you can follow me at Justin Sofer on Twitter. I'll see you guys next time. Forza Juve, Forza Bianconeri.